Good evening, everyone. Today, August 8, 2023, at 6 p.m., I call for order. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Supervisor Aliaga.
Here.
Clerk Newbeck here. Treasurer Brown.
Here.
Trustee Morocco.
Here.
Trustee Nalamothu. Here. Trustee Ritchie.
Here.
Trustee Stolian.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Good. We need a motion to approve the agenda.
Move to approve the agenda as presented.
Support.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. All right. Board and public announcement. Any board members or individuals in the audience make a statement containing information about a recent or a coming event. Anyone in the board? Trustee
I
Morocco?
just want to remind the residents that next Thursday, we're having another volunteer day for preservation clerks at the Bailey House to put in the windows on the lake side of the home. So anybody that's willing and able or wants to come and help or just see what we're up to, we'll be there from 8 to 4 next Thursday.
Okay. Anyone else? Anyone in the audience? No? Okay. Moving on. Okay, we have now a public comment. Anyone in the audience would like to address to the board? Anyone online? No one? Okay. All right, moving on. We don't have a public hearing today, and we have presentations and report today for our treasurer, Paul Brown.
Once again, my chance to talk to the board about where we're at with protecting the township's funds. And before I jump into this, I want to talk just a little bit about, we've had our first investment advisory committee meeting, and it took a little while to get everyone sworn in. I actually had that meeting after I prepared the MAIF for this. Trustee Stoyan was there. We have a terrific group in that. And the consensus there was they like the direction of my strategies right now. And a couple takeaways from the meeting, and going forward we'll have minutes coming to the board relative to those meetings. I've been trying to look closer at cash flow projections. So how are we spending the township's money? I would say for most of the years that I've been treasurer, it's kind of been ballparked. You know, I kind of know how much we need and keep an eye out for larger items. But with interest rate, and that was always okay, we did fine. We've never had a cash crunch where I didn't have the money available. But when interest rates are as high as they are right now, having too much money in the bank account when it didn't need to be there, you lose some real opportunity for the interest you could earn on it just in a super safe investment. And I had started working with Rick Yeager, a budget analyst, on figuring out how to get good cash flow projections out of BSNA. I'm not confident that actually is going to work. It's probably going to be something where some data comes out of BSNA relative to payables. It's going to go in an Excel spreadsheet, and then we'll have to, project that out with some of the larger items that will come up on a quarterly or semi-annual basis, like payments on bonds, larger items like that. I know what the sheriff payments will be. Capital expenditures, if we're buying a fire truck or some other equipment, expenditures at the playground. So the goal, the investment advisory committee, that was something someone brought up, was looking at cash flows to take advantage of having less money in our checking accounts and more of it actually earning. And when interest rates are this high, again, that means a lot. When they're at 0.5%, it really doesn't make a lot of difference. So there's an opportunity there. And so at our next investment advisory committee meeting, I hope to review with the committee the cash flow projections. And we'll go out 18 months with them, and that will allow us to be more pinpointed on laddering the investments and ensuring we get as big a bang for the buck as we can. It won't change the type of investments we're getting. Right now I'm staying very strongly in treasuries, T-bills, and government-backed securities almost exclusively. But those interest rates are anywhere from 4 to 5% right now, anywhere from a couple months to 15, 16 months. So I'm pretty excited. There were a few other things that were brought up about opportunities for things that are within the investment. Public Act 20 would be allowed under Public Act 20 that I haven't gone near. One of them was something that I'm still learning about, but somebody on my committee pointed it out, and he does have experience with it. And so I hope to look at that more closely and discuss it with the advisory committee at our next quarterly meeting, and look to see if I want to bring that back to the board and talk to you about if I decide I want to try to do that. And it may be an opportunity to get larger rates of return, but still following Public Act 20. So I'm very cautious about that sort of thing, but that's what that committee's there for, and so they're helping me see some things that I might not have saw before. One of the things I pointed out to the committee was that they're not there working for me. To me, one of their jobs is to make sure the board knows if they see things that don't look right. And so I brought that up to them and kind of made a point of that. They're a safeguard so that the board has more confidence that that group of people, if they see something off track or that they're uncomfortable with, that their duty is to tell the board that. And with Trustee Stoyan there, obviously, he would hear those concerns and could bring it himself. So we'll jump into the investment report. I'm going to jump around a little bit. There's not huge changes here, although you'll see I continue to get money into the federal agencies. That's where the huge rates are coming right now, anywhere from 4 to 5%, and that's short-term money. The maturity distribution has evened out some. I have a lot less that's 1 day. When I 9 months ago, the 1 day was 60 to 70%. Credit ratings are still super strong. Well, I may have to modify this, right? Because the credit agencies have downgraded the U.S. These may be AA now. Of course, that happened after I issued this report. But if any of you watch the news on that, Fitch has downgraded. And I'm not going to try to predict what that's going to do, but I think we're aware of it. I want to jump into the unrealized gains and losses, and of course we're talking about unrealized losses right now. We had a pretty good first quarter where we dropped it down to the loss was $852. It's kind of jumping in the other direction. But to help you understand kind of the volatility, at the end of July, I had unrealized gains on the JP Morgan's security account. That's stuff that's been bought since about November. I had about $100,000 in unrealized gains. 8 days later, it was $170,000 in unrealized gains. It jumped that much. And this was after the interest rate had been increased in early July or mid-July. So in August, I saw that move, and it is not easy to predict what the market's going to do. I guess that's why I'm very happy to stay in the very, very secure things that we're in, which is the treasuries and those types of securities. So one of the things I'm working on right now, and it provided Rick, is a projection for where we end up on unrealized gains and losses at the end of the year. And this is related also to the interest income that we'll report. Our budgeted interest income for the year is about $400,000, and the projected losses that we expected were, I think, over 200,000 ballpark. We thought we would have additional unrealized losses of 200,000, close to 300,000, and that number, as far as interest income goes, I'm already at 350,000 of interest income with a budget of 399. So we're going to kind of blow past that. I worked through all the numbers. I'm projecting 600,000 of interest income for this year. I've jumped that up to 800,000 a year for the next 3 years. And those numbers I'm going to be able to be very confident about, because I have items that are going to mature in 25 and 26, as well as stuff maturing in 24 that I don't plan on selling those, and if I don't sell them, I know where the interest income is gonna be. It's gonna be 800 grand. And so Rick will be able to budget for that. We're also gonna benefit from where I believe, if I'm correct, where I think unrealized gains and losses will go. Because if you keep in mind, our portfolio has an unrealized loss of over $1 million right now. And if we don't sell any of those, that will go away by the maturity, okay? Because it matures to its face value over time. And so my projection, and I'm trying to be conservative, is that I think I have us potentially losing a little bit more, like ending up at the end of the year at 1.2 million of unrealized losses. And again, it's so unpredictable. But I can pretty much chart out that the following years, we're going to have unrealized gains of between 200,000 and 300,000 every year until we get to 2026, because of the big ones I have, and I'll scroll down and you can look at these. The big ones we have with these huge losses down here, these unrealized losses, I've got one here with 230,000. It's an unrealized loss on 2.5 million. That's going to mature in 2026, right? So between now and 2026, call it 2.5 years, that loss has to go to zero, and that turns into gains, right? So my projections on those are probably more going to be closer, just because I know when they mature, the losses will be gone. And if you look at, again, this is all because of the interest rates rising over time, that these items we've held longer are the ones who've got the larger losses on it. Although things I've bought more recently, and again, this is in the order of purchase date. And again, the intent on this was always so the board could see exactly what's been bought since the last time we met. And one thing this doesn't show, which I'm going to change, because if you look at that, it says I've purchased 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like 5 things in 90 days. Well, that's not true. I bought a bunch of other things, but their maturities were less than 90 days. So they don't show because they have already bought and matured. I'm going to change this report to show the things that went in and out, because this doesn't show the picture. I invested millions in that 90-day period knowing I needed the money in 30, 45 days, and then we got it, made some money, and then it was gone. Doesn't show that here, so I'm going to kind of change the format of this to show the actual transactional activity within the quarter too, because we missed that component of it. And I kind of came across that as I was reviewing this information. So, so again, things bought more recently, I can be up and down. I've got gains on a couple of things here. The gains on these two, like on this one right here, these gains, one of them's got 80,000 in gains right now. Now, one thing you look at is you might say, well, should we sell it and take the gain? Well, really, it's 6 of one and half dozen of the other, because if I take that gain, I already know I'm going to earn that gain. The gain's going to go down, but the interest income I'm earning would almost net with what I might take of it now, invest in something else, and take the interest income again, because the market determines what this value is. And people a lot smarter than me are out there buying this stuff. And so the market value set by what the market says takes into consideration the gain that's in it. And so trying to play that game of let's sell this one, or for example, do I sell the one that's got a $250,000 loss at 0.5% interest? That one's down here. So the interest rate on that's 0.49%. Well, do I sell it, take the loss, and I can invest it at 4%? At the end of the day, I'm not really going to come out much different, because in addition to getting hit with a loss, then I'm also earning interest on this at a kind of a small rate, and what I'll earn at 4% on the 2.5 million is going to be over the 18 months or whatever it is. That's going to be close to. What's this popping up? Okay. That's going to be close to making up for the gain I take on it. I'm going to break even or something close. And so for me, it's not worth trying to play that game. We hold to maturity. That's our intention. And the stuff that goes down is gonna go down. We just can't always control that. We just know it's going to mature. And as long as I don't sell it, we won't lose anything. Right, Ron? So.
You keep changing from unrealized losses to just saying losses. It kind of scares me when you switch gears like that. It's unrealized losses unless you sell it.
It's an unrealized loss. All these are unrealized because we haven't sold it, so. So I threw a bunch at you. Here's the other thing that was brought up by the Investment Advisory Committee. I'm gonna break out the money that we have in checking accounts. So if you look at this, we've got, 9.7 million sitting in checking accounts. Somebody might say, why we got that much sitting in the checking account? Well, the breakout of that is that there's 2.4, 2.5 million that's from the road millage, right? I can't invest that. It's gotta stay in the account that it's in. There's another $500,000 from a bond. So there's several million that's, gonna be taxes that we've collected that I have to distribute to the county and the schools. So, I'm gonna increase the transparency of that information and break it out with a little bit more detail. Again, that was suggested from someone on the Investment Advisory Committee. So, that committee I think is fantastic. And my hope is that we continue, not just with me, right? But that what we learn as a group there, I'm really gonna do my best to document that whole thing and the process of managing the investments so that the next treasurer steps into a really comfortable situation and has a nice group of people they can learn from on the Investment Advisory Committee.
It's a training tool.
Yeah, a great training tool that ensures that a treasurer coming in cannot be kind of scared by what they face and having to do this without necessarily having the knowledge to do it. Questions? So.
Yeah.
Well, just a statement more than a question is basically, when you talk about a training tool, I guess the difference is by using the committee, which are residents with financial knowledge and input and everything, it's replacing having a financial advisor that you might pay $30,000-$60,000 or more per year to do the same thing and have the same interaction, because you might not feel like you're skilled enough to do those things. So
Yep, it does.
So I mean that's I think the beauty of the citizen board does the residents, and so hopefully they care about the money as much as everybody else does. So.
And we've got some experience on it too. I have two people who are back who were on it before, and then a couple others who have joined. One of them managed over $1 billion fund for an insurance company. So really, he threw a couple of great ideas out. The whole team did, and I'm looking at it as an opportunity for me to improve how I do things. So.
Yeah, I agree with you, Ron. That's a good point. I mean, it's true. When you got that community together again, I remember when you started, Paul, you put that community before, right? I remember that. It's a great tool because you're right. We're saving money and we get more out of the people that have that knowledge, for sure.
So just a couple other pieces of information here. Average weighted yield for the entire portfolio is 3.67%. But again, as I talk about the opportunity, since November, the average for everything bought since November is 4.91%. So I'm now getting a lot closer to the benchmark yield that our investment policy wants used. And the average weighted maturity is 1.29 years. As we see things settle out from the Federal Reserve with interest rates, might be another one coming here. I don't see a lot more of them coming. Then the time comes to start looking at, and I already started, by the way, if you read my headline in here, let me read through it. The Federal Reserve is continuing its policy of rate increases following a pause in June. The rate hikes have expanded our unrealized losses on the lower rate long-term investments. My strategy of investing short-term, less than 1 year, on 85% of investments since November provides added security to protect against forced liquidation of investments with unrealized losses. The unrealized losses as of 6/30 equal $1,031,236. The short-term strategy is to continue diversification and maturity distribution by laddering investments to ensure liquidity over the next 24 months, while at the same time taking smaller steps towards mid-range investments where opportunities are found. So there's a couple of things I bought. I think I'm $500,000 on one item that I put out like maybe 2.5 years. It's got a 5% interest rate. So I'm starting to look at that where we want to get locked in on some things for smaller amounts. And when I say smaller amounts, I'm still talking about millions, but maybe it's a couple million, 3, 4, 5 million, that we can get further out and lock into these interest rates. Doing that will all but ensure us that we'll be able to count on having that interest income for the township in that $800,000 range over the next 4 to 5 years. And that was, I think the prior year we saw, in a couple years back, we saw that number in 100,000, 150, 200,000. So this can really help us with the inflation issues we got right now and kind of get us by.
Yes, Ron.
Hate to keep asking questions.
I like it.
A little bit of formatting critique on your, on the
Next
last-
question.
On the last, on the last slide there, you talk about the, can you scroll down to the last slide? You got the next one down. You got your Public Act 20 category there.
Yeah,
Like
you want that
1A and
centered
other
better?
Well, center would be nice, but I guess what I was getting at is I would like at the end of the report, maybe the last page be two things. One, have that table in there so people could just see 1A, what is that? They could go down
Oh.
to the table.
Well, I think
And
that,
and the
yeah.
other thing I guess I'd like to see is a link on this thing, so if they're looking at this report, they can go to the investment policy
Mhm.
and, have a link that they could read the policy and stuff as well. Why
Sounds
they're in
good.
there, because most people aren't gonna take the time to go dig and find that.
Right,
And if they're reading this report for some reason, they could click on that and see that,
that's a good idea.
but anyway. So-
Yeah, I can have a link for that and have that right on the township's website, so.
Well, that's what I say, it's in there
Just a
someplace, but they,
hyperlink.
or like somehow, maybe that last page just be some, I guess, with that table of what the,
Yeah,
Public
well, I'll
Act
put a
20
table
is.
in because, if I remember right, I think I said that I wanted the board to memorize those, and I said I didn't think it would be an issue.
Good luck. on that.
Other questions?
Anyway, I just thought that the last page could be some notes or some,
That's a good suggestion, I'll make that change.
like, table
Matt?
content.
I just wanted to say thank you, Paul, for your efforts in putting the advisory committee together. It seems like a really strong group of sharp-minded, knowledgeable individuals, and seems like I'm excited to see how we can utilize their strength, and it seems like a valuable team to have.
Well, I appreciate that. The important thing to me was, I wanted to find people that were smarter than me, and then you have to not be defensive about that, because there's lots of people smarter than everybody, and so taking advantage of that's just a good idea. And, I'll get stronger when I take their advice, and that just helps the board and the township, so. Appreciate it, Matt.
Very good.
Okay.
What's that?
Yeah. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you. Thanks.
Very nice.
Is anybody else going to look on that? Should I shut it down?
Okay.
That's great, I'm really glad they got that brought back.
Okay. Okay, we don't have any, thank you, Paul. We don't have any carryover on no postponed agenda, so we go to consent agenda. Request to approve the Board of Trustees regular meeting minutes of July 25th, 2023. 2, request to approve the August 1st, 2023 check run included the ACH of $576,331.15. That was ratified the July 21st of 2023, the payroll of $369,026.57, and the April-May 2023 wire EFT transfer activity of $5,876,427.25. And that's all for consent agenda, and I need a motion.
I'll move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. regular business. All right, we have our budget operation analyst, Rick Jagger. Rick?
Good evening, everyone. What I have in front of you here tonight is budget amendment number 28. We're actually adjusting the building and human resources labor accounts. We'll start with building. Basically, when we put the budget together last year and you approved it, they were actually expecting to hire a full-time inspector. So we basically baked that in here along with all the respective benefits and everything. But when it came right down to it, they actually wound up hiring a part-time person. That was, I guess, better part for what they were working on, and it fit better, I guess. So anyway, what I'm basically getting at here is we have everything budgeted under full-time labor, and we're getting activity under part-time labor. So it's really going over budget at this point. So we need to actually just simply move money out of the full-time wage line and put it down into the part-time wage line. And that's basically what number 1 is on here. Number 2 has to do with the human resource department. The assistant in there is making kind of a low wage, and the supervisor decided to bring that up $1 per hour. Well, obviously, we weren't budgeted for that. It's not a lot of money. It's about $2,700 that is going to basically, if we don't do anything, it'll be about $2,700 over budget. And due to the fact that the building department has excess funds in it, we can actually steal a little bit from their department and move it over to human resources. And bottom line of impact of all of this is 0. We're just simply moving some money around just to cover some areas that will become a problem later on in the year. Now, one of the things I do also want to mention here, because when I was just sitting there looking at this MAIF, there is one problem with it. Can we make a change on the fly? On one of the numbers, it's the very top number that's coming out of full-time wages. It's $500 too high. It should be $47,700. Can that change be made?
Sure can.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Rick. Any questions from board members? No?
I move to approve the 2023 budget amendment number 28 with the $500 change in line, it basically decrease the decreased amount. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
And,
We could just say as amended.
as amended, right?
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Very good.
All right.
Thanks very much.
Motion carried. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Oh, next we have our fire chief, Dave Bichet. Oh, thank. Okay.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Greg Grant, Fire Marshal. Like I said last month, we are here to propose changes to the open burn ordinance by eliminating the need for residents to get a burn permit. So this is the second reading. I just kind of want to reiterate that that's the only change that we're proposing is just to get rid of that permit. All the other rules will stay in place. We'll still enforce the rules just like we have always. The burn, excuse me, the burn calendar won't change. Nothing is changing. We're just seeking approval for the changes of eliminating the permit process altogether. And I'm here to answer any questions if you guys have, if any came up over the last couple of weeks.
Sure. Any question from board members?
I just have a comment.
Comment? Sure.
Just going to reiterate what we said a couple weeks ago too, though, with advertising that we put it in the Township Times and the website and things like that, so the public's aware of the change.
Yep, correct. We, as soon as it's approved, that's what we're gonna do next, is we're gonna set up a campaign, get it in the newspaper, get it into our social media outlets, and update the website, update the township's website, and then just our own guys going out in the field, updating everybody as we come across it.
We have the new township PR person or PIO person will be starting on Monday as well, so that
Oh,
can,
perfect.
that can be a first duty.
Yeah, I'll get in touch with them.
Yeah,
That'd be awesome.
very good,
I
thanks.
just had a question.
Trustee
I'm sorry,
Morocco,
was she
sure.
done?
Of course.
Was she all set?
Yeah, of course.
And it would be under enforcement and penalties. page 3 of 4 at the very bottom, it says, I just want you to explain, it still says on each day burning shall occur under this provision, the person responsible for the fire must notify the fire department. Is that, and I don't understand the whole ordinance, is that, is that under,
Which page was that on?
page
Page
3 of 4?
last item.
Last item?
E4,
E4.
I just didn't understand the line on how it pertained, you know,
Yeah.
whether
How do
I
you
didn't
notify?
understand the ordinance or whether that was just, you know, where that comes into play.
The only thing I can understand is we used to have the residents call the fire department the day of when they wanted to have a campfire. They never had to call us on days that they were going to have any open burning. They would just follow the calendar days.
Right.
But if they wanted to have a campfire, they were requested to contact the fire department and then let us know that they're going to have a campfire at their house. We've pretty much done away with that for the last several years.
Well,
so.
I just didn't know if it was still relevant to be in the ordinance.
It
and
probably-
how it pertains,
no.
you know, because it does say now you got, recommending people contact you.
Yeah, no, it's a good catch. We don't need anybody contacting us to let us know when they're having a campfire, or as long as they're following the open burn rules and following the days on the calendar.
So are we gonna scratch that line then, or?
yeah.
Should.
I would recommend that we do it, if we just do it as part of the motion, do it as an amendment to the motion or something?
We don't have to go back and have a first reading again if we change that?
No.
Legal?
I would just put in that barring him finding something we don't understand that would require it, we should do it without it.
Right.
Strike it if not required. Because, they should probably just take a look and make sure that it's not something there.
Is chief comfortable with us removing it?
I had no problem removing it, I just don't know if we can remove it under the resolution.
Maybe we can, that's Nancy.
Okay.
Nancy,
Lawyers
please.
here.
Yeah.
Because it's a second reading.
Anyways.
Right. This is the final approval.
They didn't catch it the first time through.
Yeah, that's right.
I caught him, but I just thought I heard you say.
Because this is a second reading, you would need to amend it and then re-present for it to be approved. So you would have the option to approve it so that you can move forward with your campaign and then revise it so that you don't delay your process to remove that line if you wanted to get this going sooner than later. But otherwise, you would need to, in my opinion, reread it as the second reading appropriately with the
Starting
strikeout.
again, basically.
In 2 weeks, is it time sensitive?
No, it should be pretty quick to get it, changed.
We can approve it so people aren't in violation if they don't have a permit, And then, like you say, it's just, like you're saying, nobody was calling anyway, so.
But do we have to bring it back twice then again for
Yes.
the cleanup?
That's
do.
what I
But
was
it would
getting
be kind of a moot point at that point, we'd just be cleaning up the paperwork.
Right, well, basically just, we'll have all the same thing, just have that one line stricken, so.
Yeah, but it's changing a resolution and everything, so.
You think
We'll
there'll be a
have two
public hearing on
resolutions.
anything else in the near future relative to this stuff?
No, I don't.
I'm just
Believe
saying we
so.
can wait, but
So we can approve this chapter 20, article 3, section 56 to 59, and then for that part, you just start over.
Okay.
Is that correct? That's what you meant by being able to
Why don't
move
we just
forward?
table it and do it cleanly in 2 weeks?
We can do that too.
But wouldn't we have
That's
to
probably
amend
the
it
best
tonight, and have
option.
a second
Probably
reading
No,
in
we
2
can
weeks?
just table it,
we
take no
table it,
action
yeah.
tonight.
But if we take no action, does that mean that tonight doesn't count as the official first reading?
Yeah, because we did not approve in the second reading.
And then we gotta do it
You gotta
2
start
more
over.
times?
Mhm.
I just brought
We
it
should
up.
have
How
caught
we
it 2
fix
weeks
it.
ago.
I just thought it was,
I just,
First and second reading again.
with that language there, trying to. Yes, sir.
So my suggestion is accept this resolution as is, as it's written, as a second reading. Let's get this piece in place. that language that Sam brought up means absolutely nothing to any of us. No one calls us, it's not being used, and we don't enforce it. So it's dead language that needs to be changed in the future. But I would grab this while we can grab it and move forward with the change. In the future, if we do more changes to the burn, open burn policy or ordinance, then we can maybe address that, maybe some other things, but that's my recommendation.
I'm fine with that. I mean, I think that if we just, isn't Brian Ottman the one that consolidates these ordinance changes, or is
My
this different
office.
than that? This would be, Carrie? Just put on the list next time we do them.
Yeah,
Okay, all right,
it's not affecting the public and it's not affecting us, so it's,
Okay.
sure,
no one really knows about
Something
it.
else might
So,
come up in the meantime
Nancy.
anyway.
yeah.
Get some chance.
sure. Thank you, Chief. Hold on one second. Nancy, we're okay with that, right? We should be okay. I think that's the best recommendation.
Yes, the chief was much more articulate than I was. That was my suggestion, so absolutely, we could do that and then clean it up later.
Thank you, thank you.
That's why he's the chief.
All
Thank
right,
you, Chief.
I'll move to approve the second reading and adoption of the amendments to the Independence Charter Townships Fire Prevention and Protection Ordinance, Chapter 20, Article 3, Section 56 to 59, and direct the township clerk to publish said ordinance in accordance with state law.
Support.
Okay, this is roll call, so.
Clerk Newbeck, yes. Treasurer Brown?
Yes.
Trustee Morocco?
Yes.
Trustee Alamothu?
Yes.
Trustee Ritchie?
Yes,
Trustee Stoyan?
Yes.
Supervisor Aliaga?
Yes.
Motion carried.
there you go.
Great, thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief. Okay, next one. This is about the transit, no. Okay, Lisa, please, or Lisa Christensen, or Intern Director of Parks and Rec. Thank
Hi,
you.
good evening.
Hello?
All right, so as we know, back in November of 2022, Oakland County voters passed the transportation millage for the purpose of funding public transportation throughout Oakland County. The millage was at a rate of 0.95 mils for a period of 10 years. Since the passing of that millage, the Oakland County Board of Commissioners established a local transportation reimbursement program for 2023, authorizing a one-time appropriation of funds to provide reimbursement to maintain existing public transportation services in Oakland County for municipalities that meet certain criteria. This program will assist eligible communities by offering this reimbursement funds for qualifying expenses that are currently budgeted for this fiscal year, January 2023 to December 31st, 2023. So as an eligible municipality, our senior community center supervisor, Jennifer Angus, did apply for the reimbursement on our eligible expenses, but the total reimbursement does not include funding that we already receive. And for us, that would include municipal credits, CDBG funding, specialized service funding, and our rider fees. So that total reimbursement remaining and was approved is $161,502. So tonight, I'm here to ask the board to adopt the resolution, which would accept the funds from Oakland County and approve the agreement.
Right. Thank you, Lisa. So you guys aware about what happened the last election. We have the language that was put by the Oakland County Commissioners. Basically, it was the transit millage that passed. I mean, in Independence Township didn't pass. It was, we had like a little bit more than 57 or something like that. I don't recall the
Yeah,
numbers.
it only passed in one precinct here in Independence Township.
Right. So, and I asked some of the people, they support that, have the perception that we're gonna add some buses or something for people with special needs or something like that, and it's not gonna happen, correct?
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
Sure. And some people inside with this transit millage, the people that support the transit millage, they said that after it passed, that we're gonna get extra funding or extra buses, they're gonna help people with.
Sure, I'm sure the
Yeah.
residents, yes, who
They saw that.
probably thought, yes, that how the money, there was no plan really presented prior to the election and how the money was going to be used. So here in Independence, we have a large transportation program that we transport our seniors and our adults with special needs. And I'm sure residents thought that we could expand our services because we're only operating Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, and we're only within a certain boundary of service rides. So I'm sure residents immediately thought by voting yes that this would expand that. Absolutely, but as of right now, this is the only funding of the $1.8 million coming out of Independence Township that,
Yeah.
that we're
Right.
being approved to use.
So the county is gonna take $1.8 million out of Independence Township, and we getting just this reimbursement of $161,000, is what really it is.
On a single year commitment.
It's
That's
just
it?
for this year.
This is a
that's
single
it.
year. It's been presented to us as a one-time thing, so we are not sure if they're going to do this again in 2024.
But we have a 10-year bill
The
we're
millage
getting.
is 10 years.
And they're giving us throwing us a bone for 160 grand for 1 year, that's it?
That's it, yeah. There's lots of opinion and probably feelings about this, but,
Well, common sense tells you it's,
Yeah,
you're getting
well,
ripped
yes.
off.
Well,
absolutely.
I mean,
I think this was a way for the county to show, without a plan, this is something we're doing, but we haven't, and we don't know, we haven't been presented with a plan.
yeah, Jennifer Lagos, our director of the Senior Center, and Lisa Christensen, and Jennifer Spiegel, myself, we went attend many of the meetings with the people from this township village, but they never give us a plan. They never commit for anything. And I tried to reach out to the county executive, Coulter, and I didn't get nothing back so far. So is what they presented right now. I mean, if we not approve this, we're gonna lose the 161,000. I mean, that's where we are right now.
Correct.
So if we don't approve this.
We gotta
but if
take whatever we can get at
yeah,
this
right,
point.
at this point, yeah.
Correct.
And
The
we don't
bulk-
have a
the-
choice, so.
The majority of the funding, is going toward who the county considers the four main providers, which would be NODA, WODA, OPC, and SMART. So those are the four transportation providers in the county that appear to be getting the most of the millage funds at this point.
Yes. And we also, just for some of the members here, I want to you guys know, we provide services also for Springfield and the village of Clarkson, correct?
Correct. They do not provide services, so we provide that services on their behalf.
So the county is gonna take money also for Springfield and from the village, but they're not getting nothing. We getting their portion, right?
I don't think it's necessary that we're getting their portion. They're just unable to apply for
Unable to apply.
They're
reimbursement.
just
Okay.
getting nothing.
Nothing,
And we're just
yes.
getting a little bit.
Yeah, and that's no,
Can we
Yeah.
solicit can we solicit services from the big four?
Yes, and that's kind of
Separately?
where the conversation, I mean, we're having ongoing conversations, and that's where we kind of stand right now. We met recently with NODA to explore operations of outside of our service days and times and boundaries.
So does NODA have they determine where their disbursement's gonna go from all their money, right? So now we gotta play into.
Yeah, the best guidance we've been given by the county is to try to collaborate with them and work together.
And try to chip away at some of what they got.
Yeah.
Okay. And that, who's works on that? Who represents the township in the fight for fairness here?
there will be a county commissioner, Karen Joliet, right?
I mean, from the township,
For the
it's
township.
Jennifer Angus, who's
Oh,
here tonight,
Jennifer, yeah.
as from our senior center, myself, Jose,
Mhm.
Jennifer Spiegel. We've been, having ongoing meetings internally and trying to sit down with the county at this point.
Yeah, but Karen Joliet is our county representative for Independence Township.
Yeah, I know,
With the
but
county, yeah.
she's not helping, but, so I'm just not familiar with the process. Is that what every community is doing? Because there's a lot of communities that aren't getting
They've held some
even the.
countywide meetings where we've all been invited, all of the, partnering organizations who provide transportation, smaller ones as considered. But again, there's no plan, there's no cohesive
Right.
plan. It's kind of like, we're still working on it. They're doing surveys, they're doing things, but we still haven't,
So
we
no
don't
one's
know.
committed to us being pimped out of all the money yet. They haven't committed to anything yet. This is like, they're just trying to figure out who they're gonna give money to at
Possibly,
this point?
we don't know. We're
Okay.
speculating at this point. They are giving
Okay.
millage money to the four main providers that we know.
Okay.
Yeah,
But it's not a done deal. We can still fight for more.
We're trying,
Yeah, we
we're
try.
trying to
we trying, Jennifer
facilitate
trying.
conversation and.
Okay.
Yeah, I just prefer for Jennifer today is trying again to reach out to Dave Coulter, who's the executive
Yep.
county commissioner, and we keep trying. Yes, Clark Newbeck.
Couple questions, Lisa.
Mhm.
Or maybe this is something for Jennifer, the CDBG funding,
Mhm.
that 67,000, is that wholly allocated towards transportation services?
Yeah, and the breakdown of that is only about 15,000 from CDBG. We get 34,000 from specialized service funding.
That's what I thought. So
And
not-
then about another 18 in rider fees to get to the 67.
Specialized services goes to something else, though, correct?
I'm not sure. I don't know, Jennifer.
Our specialized services funds go to transportation.
It does go to
Okay.
transportation.
All right, well then, couple other questions I had. Has there been talks of, I thought there was possibly some initial talks about us maybe forming some sort of a transportation network or hub here in Independence. Is that continuing?
I'm not
Are we-
aware of that, of any of that conversation, so I can definitely check into that.
Okay.
And look and see. I don't know if Jennifer is familiar at all with that conversation. That could have been with Director Smith.
Correct.
And I'm just not privy.
There were initial conversations for us to perhaps that was early in the conversation, Carrie, when we were talking to the county.
I'm sorry, can I
Yeah,
interrupt you to
yeah,
come to the
yeah,
microphone?
Yeah,
Thanks.
sorry.
Thank you, sorry about that.
Okay.
So there were some initial conversations that we had with the county. We sat down with, then with Gerald Fisher, who was in office at that time, Derek, myself, and some of our transportation team. We were throwing around a lot of ideas, and the county had at that time, they had a contractual person that was helping them. The county did not, and it was very clear in their ballot language, did not have a plan in place for this millage. So they were throwing things out, meeting with all the municipalities that currently operate as a CPP, which is what we are called a community partner. So we don't fall under a quote-unquote transportation authority, even though we collaborate with neighboring communities. So there was some conversation at one point, Carrie, yes, about maybe us becoming an additional transportation authority. And that loose conversation was we would partner, since we partner with the village and Springfield Township, that maybe we would assume some of the other North Oakland area communities like Brandon, Holly, Groveland, Rose Center. Then with that, we said, well, if we're going to do, if we're going to consider that, what's the funding mechanism going to look like? That the county is like, well, this is just preliminary talk, so we're not sure what we would get out of that, and so it was a very loose conversation at that point, and the main concern with that is the county is not willing to, they weren't willing to commit to any kind of dollar amount. And what that would look like for our transportation program, I mean, we would be expanding our services fourfold, and we needed to know what that was going to look like before we would even say, maybe we'll entertain that.
I think it's definitely worth bringing back up and resurrecting as an option.
Okay.
I mean, I don't think it hurts. I mean, for us to try to gain back some revenue into what we're losing and what we're giving back out, I think it's worth investigating. I mean, the worst they can say is no, hopefully not. I don't know if that size is something that is palatable for us or not, maybe not.
That was my concern, is
True.
that we could handle that volume, because right now we could not.
But another question I had is, Lisa mentioned briefly about NODA taking over on weekends and something else. We don't currently do that, do we?
We do not offer our services Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. So what our last conversation at our last meeting, which I think was our fifth meeting, and they all kind of take a different spin, was yes, that NODA has been tasked with by the county, because they've received a contract with the county for some of the funding, the millage funding, that they were tasked with going to some of these community partners and seeing, well, since we have money allocated to this, maybe we can help you out in certain ways. So this is a county's effort to say, we are doing something, and by being able to say we're going to help these community partners expand services. So that's what we can present to our residents and communities that we partner with, is that at this point, we can get some money from NODA to go outside of our service boundaries and do it outside of our current service times.
Do you know how long those contracts are
I
that
was.
they have with the county?
I heard they've said two different things. It's a 3-year contract, but they've only gotten money for 1 year so far. And that was a total of $2.8 million. NODA currently serves North Oakland Transit Authority. They serve Lake Orion, Oxford, and Addison Township. So, but their service boundaries are bigger than those communities.
Just sounds like it's opening the door for them.
I agree.
And I don't take that very kindly, but what can we do right though at this point? But that's why I'm asking if we can be a little bit more forthcoming and seeing what else that we can do in partnership with the program that would benefit us and our northern communities that are getting nothing as well.
Yeah. Trustee Alamato?
The problem with the whole thing is, we were angered when they took away the opt-out part of it. All us northern counties, like the Holly and all that you recommended, including Independence, we're never gonna get the services. We were told that from day one. It was never their plan to come up here. They just want our money. And when they took away that opt-out option, it was very upsetting. So now, instead of just getting this bone, I think everybody in those communities, whether you voted for it or not, it's there, they're taking your money, and I think they should all demand their transportation. It's not just for seniors and handicap. It is anybody who needs a ride for work. It was supposed to expand bus services and everything for, let's say, teenagers who have a job and don't own a car. They're using our money. I think the public needs to go and demand those services be brought up here, Independence all the way to Groveland, Holly, Rose City. That's the best you can do, because this 161,000 is nothing compared to 2 million they're taking.
Right, I agree with you, Terry. And as you know, I know Trustee Stonian and Trustee Morocco weren't here when that happened, but during that time when a representative from the county come to the board and present this idea, we passed a proclamation 7-0. The 7 members could vote against that we don't support that. I mean, we make it clear, and even in the polls, the election day, Independence Township don't support that. But still, they're moving along. They didn't give us the chance to opt out. Like Trustee Alamato says, it's terrible. The only good thing I find out with Commissioner Joliet is that the DDA that we approved in the beginning of the year is gonna get some amount. It's gonna get like $100,000. And I talked with Dick Carlisle. He think it's gonna be that way. I guess at this point, you never know with the county, but it seems like we're gonna get extra money for the DDA, and I think that
A one-time?
probably.
No.
one time, yeah. I mean,
I'm
like I
sure.
said, that's what I'm pretty sure it's gonna be one time. But it's sad,
better
but
than
well,
nothing.
Trustee Rich.
I guess I just want to get back to where Carrie was going, because, you know, this is the money that they're allocating. Obviously, we want to take whatever money we can get, but to me, we need to look at other funding sources. All those were budgeted items that were in there. Why don't we go back and change our budget and take all that shit out of there? So now, that 67,000 is increases the amount they have to give us. Because CDBG, we don't have to allocate that to that. That was our choice to allocate that. Let's go back and make a budget amendment, take that out, and move that money some other place. The same with, and I guess what I'm worried about, that we have other things that are going on, like bucks for buses and everything else. Are they gonna include that in there and start reducing our amount because of donations and that type of stuff as well?
Well, I wrote that out of this year's plan, is to proceed with any fundraising events, because then that was gonna back us
Right, that's what I'm
out
getting
even
at. But those
more
are
money.
discretionary things. Let's take them back out of the budget. Let's make a budget amendment, take it back out, so. you know, that should increase 67,000 that we get, so.
Is this though from this year or last year? I thought they were looking at last
It
year's
says
funds.
this is for 2023, right?
Yeah, this is this year, so what we've allocated in that budget, that's what I've submitted for, and they were using this year's budget, so I don't know
You
if they.
told the truth, that's okay. But what I'm getting at,
That's an option, because we've
Well-
already presented all the numbers.
well, it's August. We can make a budget adjustment now, stop the bleeding right now. It's like, we save almost half that amount, right? So if we don't have
Yeah,
a,
but
we can't go back and do the full year.
Now we're deficit spending in the budget. I mean, we still have to run the thing, right?
Well, no,
How
what I'm
do we
getting at is, we'll take the 67,000 out, and we should increase the 67,000 we're getting from the millage.
Well, yeah, it should have, could have. They still have to go through some process to give it to us. We still have to run that division.
They have to go through that process there. That's why it's on the agenda tonight. That's why we're voting on this.
But we've signed those contracts
Yes,
for
CDBG
2023
we're
already.
into,
How can you sign a contract for something we haven't approved yet, so.
Well, I mean,
I'm just,
yeah.
You get her all flustered.
Yeah, right. No,
Spoken like a man that's divorced twice.
Right.
It's like- There you go. Insensitive and abrasive. Yeah.
Can we have a question or something?
No,
No?
I'm okay.
You're okay, all right.
I have a quick comment on
Sure,
what
Terry.
Trustee Ritchie just
Yeah.
said. I think if this might be an occurring thing year to year, we need to get Rick Yeager involved and see if that can be worked out for 2024.
Yeah, just in case, I guess to me,
Yes,
it's something we
I
need to look
agree.
at for the 2024 budget if, you know, if they're taking money away from us because we were prudent to put money in for that. And yeah, I'm not trying to take money away from the whole program, but I want to get as much of the millage money as we can. So if we budget it correctly, then, you know, we'll have that money to spend as well, so.
Yeah, that way they're not crashing our system. They're gonna be obligated, you'd think, to make up our deficit. And as long, if we just keep kicking our own money into it, or they're
Right.
just
Well,
keep
we're
giving
hurting
us
ourselves
less and less,
by,
it's worth a
by
try.
trying to fund it, so.
We can always fund it if they don't give it to us, but it's worth a try.
So we just need to buy like 10 more buses and everything else.
This is a one-time deal. I bet you we
Yeah.
don't see
Well,
this
that's-
again.
Yeah.
That's why they're not promising it for multiple years, because you'll make adjustments to, you know, to compensate for that, so. But that's the political game, so.
Okay. Any other comment?
No, I'm ready to make a motion,
Okay.
although I don't like the whole thing,
Oh, I don't like
situation.
either.
I'm gonna grab
I
whatever
agree with
cash we
you.
can get out of them right
Yeah.
now.
I mean, I don't say we like it, nobody likes this here, yeah.
I'll move to adopt resolution number 2023-016 to approve the 2023 interim local transportation reimbursement program interlocal agreement between Oakland County and the Charter Township, and authorize the township supervisor to sign the agreement and the township clerk to certify and file the same.
I'll second.
Okay, motion has made by trustee Morocco and second by trustee Alamatu. Against roll call?
Treasurer Brown,
Yes?
trustee Morocco,
Yes.
trustee Alamothu,
Yes.
trustee Ritchie,
Yes.
trustee Stoyan,
Yes.
supervisor Aliaga,
Yes.
and clerk Newbeck, yes. Motion carried.
Good luck.
Thank you for all your
Thank
hard
you.
work on
Thank
it.
you.
We appreciate your
Keep
efforts.
your ears to the table there as far as, like say, if you think they're gonna have it again next year, then that should change how we do our budgeting, so. All right, thank you.
Okay, we don't have a closed session, so communication picture agenda items, reports. We have number one, the fiscal 2023 actual to budget comments for period ending on June 30, 2023. Report Fire Department monthly report on May 2023. 3, Fire Department monthly report of June 2023. 4, Building Department monthly report July 2023. And lastly, the minutes of the Video Center Administrative Board, February 15, 2023. Board member comments? No? No one? Okay, any motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn?
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
I win.
This thing's gonna be pretty.